The design of educational project often begins with a phone call or a casual conversation or discussing regional news, occasional impressions, or at least a cup of coffee with the colleagues. Someone suggests that a particular audience should be reached, a particular topic might be actual. The conversation soon ends with the suggestion that education may be a part of the answer. Perhaps a project should be developed that would reach the target group or cover an identified topic. Although it would be great if all educational projects and activities grew out from a true need assessment. Most educational programs start with someone having an idea. In these cases, the needs assessment look at gaps the idea could fill, the way the idea could be adopted to fit a particular audience. So who comes with these ideas? Most ideas for educational programs come from the people closely involved in a particular area to bring happiness into one's life, to learn practical ways to change a life in positive way. That was my idea of happiness course, my experience and observations, talks and readings in social media, and that determines the topic. Sometimes the idea comes down from above, or from a friend, a stakeholder, or you can read it between lines. But what should be done next? As we know from previous example with Eo and his happy birthday, with the enthusiasm and excitement of the moment, it should be remembered that not all projects are timely and appropriate. His biggest need was his own tail, not honey, and not empty pot with written congratulations. A need assessment is a systematic approach to studying the state of knowledge, ability, interests, or attitudes of the defined audience or group involved in a particular subject. Needs assessment are used to learn about important issues and problems faced by people in order to design effective educational programs. A need assessment also provides a method to learn what has already been done and what gaps in learning remain. This allows the educator or educational organization to make informed decisions about needed investment, thereby extending the reach and impact of educational programming. The goal of need assessment are nearly always the same. The first goal is to learn what our audience already knows and think, and so that we can determine what educational products and services are needed. The second goal is to understand what we can do to make our educational products more acceptable and useful for our adult participants. The need assessment, thoughtfully performed, provides the following: impact, insights about how education and trainings can impact our audience. Approaches, knowledge about educational approaches that may be most effective. Awareness of existing programs and gaps in available training to enable efficient use of resources. Outcomes, information about current situation can be used to document the situation. A need assessment is conducted so that the target audience can verify its own level of knowledge and skills, its interests and opinions, so its learning habits and preferences. Coming back to our happiness topic, there is a lot of information via mass media about growing phobias, depression, stress experienced by people of different generations and ages. So imagine you are one of the project team members. Together with your colleagues, you analyze the existing gap regarding happiness in your local community and begin to identify situation, answering the following questions. What are the problems regarding happiness? What are the nature and scope of the problem? Where the problem located? Whom does it affect? What are some challenges a person might face with? Are there any opportunities? Does current situation open possible new dimensions? Who is at risk? What do we can do and know? What do we know about these people? From what sources might information be accessed? How we can help them at least? Continuing answering questions like these, we come to more strategic understanding of gaps and potential opportunities emerges, reducing the chance of duplicating the effort of existing program by the other stakeholders. It may be helpful to visualize needs assessment as a picture of gap analysis. In this case, a need assessment can be seen as a systematic exploration of the divergence and discrepancy between the current situation, what is, and the desired situation, what should be. With the need assessment in hand, an educator can, first, verify and describe the current situation, second, explain how this program will address the needs, and the third, describe the expected impacts on the program. Needs assessment is also conducted to generate better knowledge for decision making. If better information is the sole purpose for conducting a need assessment, the procedure may be less formal, although the steps to plan, gather and analyze data are still relevant. There are 6 steps in conducting a need assessment. The first step is to develop a plan, which begins as a description of what, when, who, how and why of the project. The description becomes a plan for designing, conducting and evaluating a need assessment. Need assessment plan include objectives, what we are going to learn from need assessment, audience, whose needs we are measuring, data, how we plan to collect data, instrument, what instruments and techniques should be used to collect data, analyze data, how do we plan to process data, and follow up, what shall we do with the gained information. For process to be complete, the need assessment has to result in decision making. Needs assessment can either document the current situation for a group or for a target population. A needs assessment is often conducted for a specific group, organization, foundation, local authorities or business in order to improve effectiveness of educational activities. However, there are 4 basic ways to collect data. These basic methods are directly transferable and adaptable to many other methods used to conduct needs assessment. They are surveys, interview, focus groups, and working groups. Other options to gather needs in indirect way include the following sources of information: the internet, newspapers, journals, transcripts from radio or TV programs, leaflets, photos, and other artifacts or man-made objects. They should not be overlooked if applicable to the objectives. For our happiness project, I should compare faces at advertisement posters and in public transport. Surveys can take many forms, but they are most common as a questionnaire, either written or online. Fundamentally, a survey is a method of gathering information from a sample of people, traditionally with the intention of generalizing the results to a large population. Surveys provide a critical source of data and insights for nearly everyone engaged in the information economy, from business and media to government and academics. There are 4 models of survey data collection, and they are commonly used: face-to-face survey, telephone surveys, self-administrated paper surveys, and self-administrated computer surveys, which means typically online. Online survey software have been most popular way of conducting survey research for over a decade now. And because getting faster insights is imperative to business success, more and more educational organizations are migrating to digital solutions. While surveys vary widely in how they are conducted and used, there are a number of components that are common across nearly all surveys. In addition, materials to this lecture, you'll find some question writing, technical and survey creating tips. Now I'd like to pay your attention to analyze methods, as they are influenced by the sampling design and by level of confidence you have to your findings. For closed-ended questions, statistical analysis will help range responses in the order of frequency and determine whether there are probable difference two or more responses. For open-ended questions, analysis usually include sorting and grouping responses first, and ranking followed by trend assessment. For open-ended questions, your analysis will rely on recognition of major trends observed in the responses and recognition of keywords or phrases, or on various other means of grouping responses into categories. You may also have individual responses to open-ended questions that can lead to important observations. However, those individual responses are only suggestive. They will not represent target group. Interviews are to be used to collect needs assessment data through one or more conversation between two or more people. Interviews can be conducted either face-to-face or via technology, telephone, video conference, online. Interview may involve an interviewer and a single interviewee or multiple interviewees at the same time, which is called group interview. Interview can lead to understanding and rapport with interviewee better than the questionnaire. One more plus. Interviewer can clarify questions for the respondent and can watch participants' reaction to determine if they understood the question. Interviewer can get additional information in the form of non-verbal or sides, support, understanding, agreement, disagreement, fatigue, indifferent to the topic, etc. Unstructured discussions require significantly more time to analyze data. It's good to construct a recording form for documenting the content of the conversation. Focus group, it's my favorite. Focus group are the group discussions conducted by a person with a limited number of stakeholders to gain information about their views, experiences and point of view on a definite topic. Focus group interview is particularly suited obtaining several perspectives about the same topic. A focus group can be highly useful for planning needs assessment because we can learn a great deal about attitudes and beliefs. It is also a useful method for gather detailed information as follow-up to a survey. Focus groups are a form of group interview with important distinctions. They rely on interaction within the group based on the topics that are supplied by educator. The purpose of focus group is to promote disclosure among participants. It is important to allow individuals to express their perceptions, attitudes and points of view about the topic in a friendly, relaxed and comfortable atmosphere. Focus groups allow comments, explanations and shared experience, and which add a lot of information to the assessment process. In short, focus group is the useful tool to gather detailed information about the narrowly defined area of interests. They are suited to analyze a group view, but could be problematic when the goal is to identify knowledge or experience based on the individual. Logistic for focus groups may be challenging, and the personalities of both participants and moderator introduce variability. The role of moderator is especially significant here. Focus groups require special moderator skills as he or she has less control. Groups are highly variable, some are talkative, others not. In such cases, I use the method which helps when participants show that they are not ready to speak just now. I'd like to share this method with you using our example happiness project. Imagine we start focus group with the following task. Please look at the saying by famous social psychologist and humanist philosopher Erich Fromm. The saying like this: our society is a society of chronically unfortunate people, tormented by loneliness and fears, dependent and humiliated, prone to destruction, and experiencing the joy of already having managed to kill time which they are constantly trying to save. Now we may start discussion answering the following questions. How do you express your feelings about this saying? Does it touch you? Are you agree with Erich Fromm? Which part of the saying? Fromm's book was written more than 40 years ago. What has changed in our society since that time? How does time change people? How about you? In what respect does the statement concerns you, maybe indirectly or directly? I have noticed many times that using this method helps participants to start talking, even if in common seminar situation they shy away from conversation with others. Probably other modules of Curriculum globALE give you ideas how to overcome silence in the group work. In additional materials to this lecture, you'll find also some tasks which help you to be more acquainted with it. For focus group, it is needed to identify and describe the target group as carefully as possible. It is much better to form a relatively homogeneous group, individuals with common age, interests, professions, etc. While this is not always possible, it is important to avoid using participants with certain kinds of relationship, such as boss and employee, teacher and students, parent and child. To conduct analysis in this case of focus group means looking for trends and patterns. It is needed first to determine the degree and similarity among these responses, to pay attention to using words and meaning of those words. For example, what synonyms participants use to the word happiness: enjoyment, euphoria, well-being, optimism, pleasure, contentment, what? All of them refer to the different subjects and therefore to the different meaning in their life. Sometimes participants use words that illustrate their strengths or feelings, the tone of voice, speed, the emphasis on certain words add information to need assessment. Working groups. Working groups is one of the instruments where personnel and representatives of different social institutions could meet together. It can be used to identify issues and opportunities, to come to conclusion, to find priorities or alternatives. Sometimes it is said that the process taking place in the group work are similar to focus group. It is true due to the moderation needed and interaction between participants, but the output could be a specific product in addition to the need assessment received from other sources. The participants often produce stimulating dialogue and productive ideas regarding content, target group, questions to be included, etc. Such groups can form a social synergism, displaying greater creativity than if each person was interviewed privately. Group processes are to be discussed in detail on the other modules of Curriculum globALE. In additional materials to this lecture, you'll find some tips related to setting working groups. Needs assessment process is not complete till plans are made to use the received information in a practical way. It is important to share the results of the assessment with all those who contributed to the process in order to come to a solution. The decision-making process schematically looks like this. Priority of needs, showing the discrepancies between current and target states. Identify possible solutions, alternative solution strategies for judging the merit of each of them. What are the possible solutions for our happiness project? It might be psychological course, practical activities, short-term program, group coaching, art therapy, what else? Select solutions. It should be chosen one from many. Propose action plan and prepare a report, results presentation that outlines the key points. To whom the results should be presented. The answer depends on the level of organization, and generally it is to be shared with department reliable to the teaching and learning process, a project team, senior management, public relation department, professional associations, sponsors and funds. Through this part of lecture, a lot of different aspects related to need assessment and analysis were introduced. My intention was to convince you that need assessment is essential for adequate program planning and to provide instruments how to do it more successfully. Needs assessment makes explicit what is the potential audience needs to learn and at the same time make potential participants aware of the needs to attend the program. Thus, needs assessment feeds the program planning, where we are going to move on the next part of the lecture.